Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. This segment of morning or close to afternoon inspiration is brought to you by the Visionetics Institute and the Power of Paradigms course. The Visionetics Institute is my brainchild, something I started some time ago with the hopes of helping people completely transform their lives. With that being said, if you want to learn more about the Power of Paradigms course, the information is in the description box. Check it out. Look, uh, I'm reminded of some of the processes and progressions that I had to make in order to move on into the next stage of life, to grow, to advance, to become. You have heard me say so many times that we don't get what we want in life. We get who we are, we get what we have become. And the things that we desire in life but yet haven't attained and can't seem to grasp, it's because that we have not yet become the person capable of it. In other words, when you become the person capable of producing the thing that you desire, you produce it. It may come with challenge, it may come with delay, it may come with setbacks, but the capacity to do it is there. In other words, you can't wish yourself upon something beyond what you're capable of producing. The beauty of it is that you can develop and grow into anyone and anything you desire when you apply yourself. It's about progression. But in visiting something, I'm reminded, I was thinking about, how I went about the process of creating that course, and it kind of just popped in my head. But there was this time, especially in my early 20s to my probably late 20s, early 30s, where I was really still holding on to the person who I was as a teenager and a young adult, because there was some sense of an idea of pride. I'll give you example of what I'm talking about. I grew up in the hood. So while I excelled in academia, that was a side of me that my brother so readily reminded me of when we got together this past holiday. That made me capable of being okay in the hood. I'll just leave it that way. And that was a part of that mentality that was very short fused, very easily tested, and had a tendency to take everything offensively and be ready to react, not respond, react. So I had the skill set, I had the vision, I had the imagination, I had the talent, but I had a problem. I didn't want to leave the old me behind. And one of the things that will hold you back and bog you down more than anything is holding on to the old you. You need to learn how to leave the old you behind. Why? Because it doesn't serve you well in the place that you're going. You're going to have new skill sets, new coping skills, new ways of resolving conflict, new ways of building relationships. You're going to find that a bunch of people back that you would have viewed in your 20s as your enemy may be your ally, but you never gave it a chance because you are ready to react. And I'm just using me as an example. That could be a bunch of different things that are part of the old you that you are constantly trying to bring forward, and it's not serving you well. Sisters, ladies, let me tell you something. There's nothing more beautiful than to see ladies come together and unite and create forces to work together, not in opposition to men, but in the uniqueness of their own design and the way you naturally float. But I see way too much of the old coming out. See, a lot of people have gone through hurt. A lot of people came up in very hard and difficult times. A lot of people, I'm gonna tell you another thing that I see people bringing into a new space: survivalism. Let me tell you something. Survivalism and excellence and greatness cannot coexist. One of the biggest challenges that I see when working with a client is someone who's still trying to fight in survival mode in a place of elevation. And you say, what do you mean when you say survive? See, some of us grew up having to struggle to eat, struggle to feel safe in your own home, struggle to get back and forth to school, struggle to navigate gang violence, struggle to navigate drug activity, struggle just to sit up and be able to study without being interrupted with gun violence and sirens and some of us have had other things that they've had to survive in childhood that are even much worse. But what happens is it creates this survival mechanism within you. Everything is a fight. Everything is a battle. Everything is a hustle. Everything is trying to find the quickest way around something, the best way or the safest way around something. And that's not how you function in the next level. The next level is about creating energy, creating atmosphere, creating the right space, making the right connections. The problem is if you're in survival mode, you either see everybody as a threat or an opportunity. You lose precious opportunities to connect to people that can get you to the next level. Trust people who can get you to the next level. And what you end up doing is severing tires prematurely. Viewing certain things in the wrong way. Sometimes you end up in wrong spaces because you saw something that was viewed through the lens of survivalism, and you sit up and you moved on it, and it put you in a bad situation. Let me tell you something. Leave the old you behind, because what you're doing is growing into something that doesn't need those particular mechanisms, coping skills, conflict resolutions through high intensity and highly volatile engagement is no longer necessary where you're going. You're going to be able to reason. You're going to be able to move. Now, there will be times that you may need to put people in their place, but you're going to know how to do that in a way that doesn't take you out of character, right? We are developing a new character as we're growing. We're developing a new standard as we're growing. We're developing higher expectations for ourselves. You can't bring old behavior into a space where you're creating new expectations. Why? They don't fit the old behavior. See, you can't bring the mindset of a survivalist into a situation without bringing the behavior of the survivalist into the situation. See, the mindset controls everything. You have your conscious, your subconscious, and your unconscious. Your subconscious controls 96% of your behavior. That's the things that are going on underneath the surface that you don't even have to think about. You're just doing. Well, if you don't leave that behind, if you don't replace that with the proper behavior as you evolve, what you do is you bring things that work against you, habitual behaviors that don't serve your interests. And you are going to have to, I had to learn that. Being willing to pop somebody in the mouth, the conservative version, being willing to pop somebody in the mouth had its place when I grew up, because there were people, if you didn't check them, and if you didn't check them emphatically, it created a problem because everybody else would see you as weak and soft, and everybody's trying to eat. Everybody's trying to prove their place. Everybody's trying to stake a claim to their hierarchy in this thing called survival. And so you've got to let them know right off the top, hey, I'm not that one. And see, what happens is that had a place then. But if I'm deciding that that's not the place I'm going to stay in, then there are certain behaviors, certain mindsets, certain ways of viewing things that I need to leave behind. I've got to leave the old me behind. I've got to determine. See, again, you don't get what you want. You get who you are. So if I'm going to be the person who is starting businesses, so I'm going to be the person who is changing lives, I can't bring that person into this new reality. He does not fit. He's going to be awkward. He's going to be knocking stuff off tables and tearing up things because that's who he is. This new person has a way of moving, still has the same impact, still has the same force, but the force comes from a different place. What are you bringing into this new space that doesn't serve you? You've got to be willing to do some introspective examinations on a regular basis and ask yourself, what am I bringing into this current reality that I should have left behind because it won't serve me well here. You got to be honest with yourself. Pride to have you bringing some things for. See, pride to have you figuring if I don't check them, people going to think I'm soft. I had to get to a point where I didn't care what people thought. People weren't paying my bills. People weren't giving me opportunities. It was, what am I going to be able to do in the space that I am? It never has meant let somebody walk over you. It never has meant let them use you. What it has meant is I don't have to react to everything just because I recognize it. I just move differently. And then I understood that a bunch of times I can make moves against and around things that were meant to cause harm or disturbances or disruptions in a way that no one ever knew they were there but me and the person who was putting them there, or the people who were putting them there. Every battle isn't meant to be fought. Many of the battles that we choose to fight every day don't have to be fought. You need to strategically choose where you're going to wage war, because when you win the war, the battles are already won. Every battle doesn't have to be fought if you fight strategically. There's sometimes you can win one battle and the other four become irrelevant. But you've got to understand, you can't bring that old person that's afraid of taking risks, that old person that sees everybody as a challenge, that old person that's built around competing with everybody instead of knowing how to work with everyone, that old person that thinks life is out to get them, that old person that believes that suffering is their lot in life, poverty is their lot in life, the only way to get it is to run, hustle, and game. All of that stuff, leave it behind. There's a space where you're going that's made for you. And the unveiling of your gift and the discovery of your purpose is going to introduce you to spaces and people and things that you don't have to sit up and manufacture schemes to get what you want. You simply walk in and claim it because you are becoming the person who can create it. You get what you become. So all I have done my entire life is say, I want that. What does a person who has that look like? What do they do? How do they think? How do they talk? Who do they deal with? So I need to become that person. So I need to develop in this area, learn in this area. Oh, they don't do this. I can't carry this where I'm trying to go because it doesn't serve me. I've got to leave it behind. It's going to feel awkward because you've identified with it. That was a point in time I identified with my quick temper. I identified with my aggression. And then I started to realize that it didn't serve me well where I wanted to go. What is it that you are doing now that doesn't serve you where you're trying to go? Observe the people moving effectively and successfully in this place that you're trying to go to. Look, how do they look? What do they look? What is it that you notice about them that you don't see in yourself? What is it that you're doing that you don't see them doing? I'm not saying abandon the true essence of who you are. I'm not saying give up yourself and lose yourself in anything. I'm sitting up saying that there's a demand on you to grow. And a part of growth is leaving the useless things behind. One of the most difficult things to do is to walk out of something and leave something because you think it's valuable, but it no longer serves a purpose. It no longer has value. You got to leave it behind. It was good while it lasted. It was good. That old car, those old jeans, whatever, that mentality and mindset, all of that stuff served a purpose at some point for whatever it was you were going through, whatever it was you were dealing with. But there comes a point in time where you are going to have to abandon that old version in order to step into the new one. You're going to have to release some things in order to take hold of some greater things. And that's something I'm challenging you to do. Search yourself. One of the hardest things that I've had to do now, it's become easier with time, but the ego it's funny, when you understand it and you control it, it's powerful. But if you're not careful and you let it control you, it can be devastating. See, the ego is, you're going to let them do that to you. And before you know it, you've blown an opportunity behind pride. So, but I'm going to tell you something, that ego, if you could push it to the side long enough, and you can enter into this thing I call introspective examination. I believe it was Socrates that says that the mind unexamined is not, the life unexamined is not worth living. Let me tell you something. I have to ask myself, and I do this consistently. Are you doing what you should be doing? Are you at your best? Did you handle that correctly? Did you really truly interpret what was said correctly? Did you overreact? Did you fail to respond? Out of all the things that you can think about that were important today, what could you have done better? And see, when you're honest with yourself, you have to tell yourself, my best self didn't show up here. I could have responded better here. That was the old me right there. And you're going through these processes and you're being, but see, that introspective examination, that search within to find these things that need to be adjusted, these things that need to change, some things that need to be released and other things that need to be embraced. That's where power comes from. Power comes from a willingness to admit I haven't arrived yet. Power comes from the understanding that there's still more out there for me to grab, that I haven't even scratched the surface of what's possible in my life, that I can peel back the layers and remove the glass ceiling. And the only limits I have are the ones that I accept with my mind. And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about me, what anyone else says about me, what anyone else is trying to do to stop me, that if it's meant for me, I have the power intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, mentally to walk into any area of life and make it mine if I desire. But I've got to be willing to admit I'm not there yet. My grandfather didn't have but a second grade education, but he would tell me, never be the smartest person in the room, son. And if you find you are the smartest person in the room, you need to start looking for the next room. He says, because the moment you become the smartest person in the room and it's a consistent reality, you stop growing. There's no one there to challenge you. You get hooked on the praise. You get hooked on the adoration and you get caught up in yourself and you get frozen in your own arrogance. No. You got to find somebody that you can look at that's a reminder that there's still more to get done, that there's still something out there to do. But you got to leave the old man behind. That's my challenge to you today. Whatever you do, leave the old you behind. Make it a daily endeavor. And somebody said, well, how do you do that? Every day I wake up with a goal to grow. To not be, my thing when I wake up in the morning is I'm not going to bed the same man that woke up. And people say, well, how are you going to do that every day? What kind of experiences that can you guarantee that you're going to encounter that's going to make sure you go to bed different? Well, the most powerful experience that you can experience in this world, based on measuring frequency vibration on a Hertz scale, is revelation, the engagement of new knowledge. It puts you as close to God as you can get. Why? Because God is the revelation. The new knowledge is a part of God. It's the mind of God. And let me tell you something. So what do I do every day? I make sure I read something I've never read before. I watch a video that I've never watched before. I ask questions of people I never asked before. Why? Because I'm discovering things. And when I discover something new, I'm not the person who woke up. I'm the person who woke up plus what I've learned. So I never go. I mean, and what happens is you create momentum that pushes you into spaces that just by learning open up. This time last year, I had no idea that I would be featured as an expert on a podcast carried by the OWN network. Since then, I've been approached by several. I didn't know when I launched my own podcast, executive produced The Teachers, which is a part of what we're doing at the with the Black Voice, has now taken off on its own. It's on all major distribution channels from Spotify on out. It has its own website and so much more. And all of this is coming from someone who saw from the outside and say, I like what you're doing. But again, it's me sitting, I'm saying there's more to do. There are more people to touch. There are more lives that need to heal. There are more people who need to be empowered. There's so much out there. And I'm going to receive what I receive by giving what I have. In other words, when I bless people, I get blessed. But what if I sit up and say, man, shoot, I've wrote, what about when I was at 5 books? The average person hasn't written 1. So I've written 5. I'm special. No, I just like to write. But so what I'm going to do, every chance I get, I'm going to write something. It may not be a book. It may be an article. It may be a position paper. It may be an academic research paper. It may be a thesis. Whatever it is, it's going to be something that I'm passionate about. I'm going to write things. I just had somebody interview me about 6 months ago, and here it is right here. I pulled it up. They interviewed me 6 months ago, and they wanted to talk to me about a topic that I'm real passionate about, and that is childhood sexual abuse in the Black community. And I'm thinking they're just coming because they've heard me speak on it before. They've literally went and found a paper I wrote in 2016. I'm looking at it now. It's called Molestation, Incest, and the African-American Family. And it was sponsored by the Odyssey Project Research and Advisory Council, something that I founded. But, the thing is, somebody is sitting here and literally coming across something that I was just passionate about and I put out. So what am I saying? I'm saying every day, wake up and know that there's something else that you can be. But that when you plant seeds, you may plant the seed and water the seed, and you may move on to the next thing. Somebody else will come along, take it, continue to water it, and then start to spread what you started. I said this a long time ago. One of the most powerful ways to be impactful is to not only affect the lives of people, but infect them. And when and somebody said, what do you mean? Say, when you affect someone, you touch them. When you infect them, you infect them with what you have. Infect them with your faith, with your passion, with your knowledge, with your yearning to do, with your capacity here. You infect them with something that you possess. When you infect them, you make them contagious. What does that mean? They don't stop. They take what you've infected them with and they go out and infect other people. You literally become a contagion. You become a positive epidemic in the sense that people are being touched by what you produced and you've never met them. When you become infectious, you literally can change the world. The thing is, you've got to be willing to grow into it. You've got to be willing to admit you're not there yet. You've got to be willing to leave the old you behind and embrace new ideas, new philosophies, new approaches. Growth means you are not the person you used to be. And you've got to be okay with that. Some people are so in love with yesterday that they can't see tomorrow, and that's a shame. But I'm challenging every person that is watching this. Hey, it's time to make something happen. Again, this segment is brought to you by the Visionetics Institute and the Power of Paradigms course. I want to thank everybody for all the love that you show me over the time. This has been a wonderful couple of weeks for me. It's been a challenging year, last 12 months, but A lot is coming out of it. That is a blessing. And for those of you who have shown your love and your support, your words of encouragement and kindness, those who have become my clients, all of you, I appreciate you. We're just getting started. I promise you, we're just getting started. On that note, I'm going to send you out with our sponsor.